Hey everyone, Stuffs here. This is a little bit of a different video than usual. If you've seen me before, it's probably from Deltarune meme videos. While those are relatively easy to make, long term they aren't very fun for me. So, I decided to try something new for this video, which is a no-hit Chapter 1 run. This video will play out as a sort of commentary over the run itself, where I explain my strategies, mistakes I made, things I did right, etc. If, for whatever reason, you would like to see the full run uncut with no commentary, it'll be linked in the description. I didn't do the Jebel fight here. I might come back and do it some other time, but I plan on no-hitting the other 3 chapters first. If you enjoy this video, please subscribe, comment, like, all that fun stuff, and I hope you enjoy the run. So, this first section here is obviously just free. It's hold X and hit Z every once in a while simulator. This entire run actually wasn't too bad. It only took me, I believe, 6 attempts. And because this beginning section is so boring, I'm going to skip to a part where there's actually gameplay other than holding X. Now that we're actually getting into the run, we're starting to see some differences from your average Deltarune run. In this case, I'm going back to bed. You can only do this after you've completed one save file, and it takes you directly to the Dark World. Most of this cliff section, too, is just a walking simulator, so I'm going to skip over it. Once we get to here, we're at the first section where I can actually reasonably get hit. I will admit I actually lost 2 runs here. Not very proud of that, but at least it's early on, and it's not like an easy section at the end that I messed up on. The strategy here is to just play super carefully, and if I think there's any chance I'm not going to make it through a hole in the spades that are coming down, I don't take the opportunity. I'll just wait it out. Better to be safe than sorry. This falling section here is pretty much the same, if not a little easier, because I don't have to focus on moving forward at all. It'll just automatically go. This is, honestly, actually the end of this is a little bit harder because the spades start moving up towards the top of the screen as the cutscene ends, and I've gotten hit by that before. Castletown is another pretty boring section. I don't think I've ever gotten hit here in my no-hit attempts. Like, of course we have Lancer, but his fight's a joke. It's just super easy. Here you actually skip listening to the legend just to save time. There's only one consequence to doing that, and it's a single line of dialogue in Chapter 4. So, I always skip it if I'm speedrunning. Here, it's actually a little faster to fight Lancer rather than act and use Mercy on him. I might go back and do a pacifist / all recruits run in the future, but I'm currently just going for whatever's fastest and takes the least turns. So here we lose Susie as a party member, which is a little bit unfortunate because of her damage, but she gets replaced by Ralsei, which is nice because he can actually spare, which makes battles go a little faster and takes a few less turns. The rest of Castletown is just nothing burger, so I'm just going to speed through it. All you need to know is I skipped the battle tutorial offered by Ralsei in favor of time, and immediately run to the right to enter the Field of Hopes and Dreams. The Field of Hopes and Dreams is definitely one of the longer sections in Chapter 1, but it's pretty easy, so it doesn't matter. This battle here is skippable, but I actually go and do it twice, which I should have done a third time, because I'm trying to get Dark Dollars so that by the time I encounter Sham's shop, I can buy the Spooky Sword for Chris, which is a little bit of a damage up and makes the King fight go by a little bit faster. One of my favorite parts of doing Deltarune no-hit runs is the little tricks that you can do to avoid certain enemy encounters. You'll notice I'm kind of moving back and forth while sprinting there, which is a trick that lets you get just enough momentum to run past the enemy. It's not technically required there. You'll see I'm doing it again right here to avoid this enemy. It basically just keeps the momentum from where you were sprinting previously. If you've played Deltarune a lot, you'll probably notice that when you start out sprinting, you aren't actually as fast as you are when you're at full speed, and it takes about a second for you to get up to full speed. However, if you never stop sprinting, that speed boost never goes away, and you can actually change direction without losing the speed boost, so that's what I'm doing there, to just speed it up a little bit. is moving back and forth to keep the speed boost, and then running as soon as I see an opportunity to avoid the enemy. You'll notice with this specific set of enemies, I'm doing something kind of weird, which is I actually only spared one of them on the first turn that I possibly could, and I had Rouse defend. This is purely based on preference. The attack that the Hathies do when there's only one of them left in the encounter is one that I just don't really like. It's slightly harder. It's not hard. I don't struggle with it, but I'm just trying to be as careful as possible. So I just play it carefully so that there will never be one Hathie left on the board and nobody else, and so I avoid that attack. So here you'll actually see the consequences of the mistake I made earlier. I only have 179 dark dollars. To buy the spooky sword from that shop we just passed, I need 200. So I end up just deciding that I'll come back later once I have the money and I'll buy the sword and equip it on Chris. This fight here is really easy. I do it in 2 turns. I just spare the top, Jigsaw Susie destroys the middle one, and then I can deal with the bottom one however I want. I think I choose to fight here. It doesn't really matter. At this moment, you'll see I notice that I actually have enough money for the spooky sword now, so I decide to go back and grab it before proceeding onto the great board. I actually make 2 pretty big mistakes in this moment here. Number 1, I failed to skip this encounter. I don't actually know if it's possible to skip this encounter, but I thought I might as well try using that back and forth tech that I talked about earlier. The second mistake that I make here, you'll see it in a moment, is that I accidentally warned the last Rudin instead of convincing it, which led to the battle taking a couple extra turns. Of course, I survived. It's no big deal. It's just a little annoying, and it slows down the run by a bit. The Great Board is not notable at all, except for, like, there's one Pawn Men encounter that I mess up skipping. There's another Pawn Men encounter that I successfully skip by just running away. Then there's the K-round boss fight at the end, and that's all that's really important. K-round is pretty easy. I just spam Deep Bow with Rouse. Don't even bother warning about Susie. It doesn't understand. She wouldn't be able to kill it in time anyway. Battle's over in 5 turns, one of which is free because it takes the turn to heal. And I'll just let you watch the rest of the fight. And just like that, the fight's over. At this point in the run, the nerves start getting to me a little bit, because I'm about halfway through. Got 2 areas left, both of which aren't super long, and I can skip most of the encounters in one of them. As soon as I enter the forest, I get to skip an enemy by just pausing right before it jumps out at me, which I get to do again right after a short cutscene with Susie and Lancer. The way to progress in this room is actually to the right, but I decide to first go up so that I can collect the Ragger as a weapon for Rouse to use for the rest of the chapter to, again, speed up the king fight a little bit. After another interaction with Susie and Lancer, I get to do another fun little enemy skip where I use the momentum thing to go a little faster. It doesn't actually matter in this section. You could probably walk and avoid this enemy, but I choose to do it that way because it's more fun. I make another relatively big mistake in the Clover fight here by accidentally using the same act. I believe it's like talking about sports twice. You're supposed to do 3 different acts to do this battle in the most efficient way. It's fine. It just makes the battle take 4 turns instead of 3. I survived it anyway. In this room, I try to skip this encounter here, which is possible. I just mess it up and end up having to fight 2 Bloxers, which is a relatively scary fight. due to just kind of the RNG mechanics of their attacks, but I make it through it just fine. This room here is also pretty scary. I've never gotten hit by it, but it always just feels like I'm super close to getting hit. It's just, I guess, kind of precise movements. You gotta stay moving with the cycle or you're gonna get hit. In this section, I make a duck. I always make a duck. I don't think I've had a single run where I haven't made a duck. It's just, it's funny, and in chapter 3 in the quiz section, it makes it a little easier because they show you the specific question that asks you, what did we change about your thing, and just find the part that's not a duck. This section with the Star Walker is a little bit scary if you're trying to go fast, but overall it's not too bad. Had a little scare there when I missed the bell, and the thing got to almost shooting at me. Also in this section, I always go back to talk to the original Star Walker. It's not mandatory, but I do it because it's funny, and then I'll see him in future chapters for extra funny stuff, I guess. The maze here is also pretty easy. Of course, if you play Deltarune, just go the direction that neither Lancer or Susie are going. You can avoid all of the encounters here by just straight up running past them. One of the blocksters is a little harder because it's fast, but you'll see in a moment. I just go past him anyway, using the momentum trick that I showed before. Again, I don't think the momentum trick is required here. I do it anyway. And that's the maze completed. It's as easy as that. And now we're nearing the end of the forest. This is the final battle in the forest against Susie and Lancer. It's mostly easy, except for the occasional turn where Susie wakes up and starts throwing axes. But otherwise, it's just a repeat of the first Lancer fight with some extra steps. I'll let the fight play out for you to watch. Just like that, battle's over, and after a kind of long cutscene-ish thing with Lancer joining the party and walking along with us for a little bit, we get to, in my opinion, the second hardest part of this run, which is the part where Lancer betrays you. The only reason this part is so scary is because of how much randomness is involved. You can see the, like, diamonds coming out at like a diagonal direction, which is kind of really scary. And this room especially is terrifying. You'll see that I like kind of just sat there and waited for an opportunity. It's because if I get bad RNG while I'm running out there to the right, a wave of diamonds can spawn on the left and just catch me off guard. That's happened to me. I've lost a run that way before. Moving on to Card Castle, the Lancer fight here is a little hard to no-hit. Just like if I get bad RNG with a spade coming down, I could get hit. It didn't happen to me ever while I was trying to get my no-hit runs, but it's just a possibility and another obstacle in the way of the end. Eventually, though, the Lancer fight ends, and there are now only 3 more encounters in the way of the end of the run. Susie joins the team for real, which is nice, and now it's time to climb Card Castle. Skipping this first enemy encounter here isn't too difficult, especially because if you mess up, like you'll see I do a few times here, you can just run out of the room and come back in to lose the enemy's aggro on you. What you're trying to do is wait for the enemy to get just out of range and then run up, and it does aggro on you, but it gets stuck on the wall below you. Floor 2 has nothing super interesting, it's just a rules card encounter that goes by pretty fast. Floor 3 is probably the hardest of the non-boss fight floors because there's these head Hathies here that I think are technically possible to avoid, but I can never get the skip. And anyways, I use the same strategy that I used for the first group of 3 Hathies that I encountered, which is I get all of them spareable, and then I spare one, and then I wait to spare the other 2 until I can spare them both at the same time, which just makes it so that they don't use their attack when there's only one Hathie on the board. Floor 4 is just another rules card encounter. Floor 5 is a shop. I normally buy an axe for Susie, but I can't lie, I just completely forgot about it this run, which does make the king fight take a little longer. And then you have the K round rematch, which is basically the exact same as the first one, but theoretically it should take less turns. I do think I mess up the crown throw one of these times, which makes it take slightly longer, but it's oh well. Still, 4 turns, it's down. Now, it's time for the final fight. There's one encounter left, and that is the king himself. This is the hardest encounter in the Chapter 1 no-hit run, being the final boss and all, especially considering the nerves, and it's pretty long, so you have to survive quite a few turns. If you couldn't tell from the weapon collecting from earlier, I'm going to fight him because it takes less turns than just wearing him out through sparing or just doing nothing. To start off with, I talk with Susie because I know after one turn of her talking, her talk action turns into Red Buster, which does a bunch of damage to the king, and I will be using that a lot throughout the fight. This first attack is nearly identical to one of Lancer's attacks, so it's not bad. I hit 2 perfect crits there, which is nice. I miss a few crits throughout the battle, which slows it down a bit, but I hit a fair amount of them. The second attack there is also not too bad. The harder version of the attack that shows up later, however, is a pain in the ass. And this attack is probably his scariest attack, because if you get bad RNG, you can get stuck in a corner, like you see I just did there. Like, honestly, I should have gotten hit there. I don't know how I did. Now that I have 60 TP, next turn I'm going to use Red Buster, which you'll see does like 300 damage, which is a great amount of progress in this fight. That's like a turn and a half of everyone attacking. Here's the harder version of the attack I just mentioned, although not the hardest. I believe there is a slightly harder version that comes later. The only difference is the spades are a little closer. Just makes it so you have to be a little more precise. Honestly, it's not too bad, it's just a bit scary. This attack here is nothing. You just move with the box. It's pretty simple. You'll see I do get kind of close to the edge of the box. That's on purpose. I'm trying to get enough TP to use Red Buster. I fail just barely. I'm behind 1 TP, but it does set up for me to be able to use it next turn and still have some leftover TP. Now we're back to this attack with the long strings attached to the hearts coming at me. Again, scary. Not as scary as that first one where I got cornered, but still hard. This attack is a slightly faster version of the one we saw earlier. It's, I guess, like, again, a little scary, but not hard. It just makes you think that you're gonna mess up. As we approach the end of the fight, the only real obstacle I have left is just my nerves, because I know it's almost over, so my hands get a little shaky. That's why I used Rude Buster there, just so that I can end off the fight a little faster. I thought I might get it at this turn, but it didn't work, so I had to do one more run of this attack, the super fast, hardest version, and that's just like terrifying, honestly. But with that final hit, the attack's over, and so is the run. I'll just let the rest of the chapter play out. It's pretty much just cutscenes and walking.
When the light is running low and the shadows start to grow, and the places that you know seem like fantasy, there's a light inside your soul that's still shining in the cold, with the truth, the promise in our hearts. Don't forget, I'm with you.